So I thought we would work exercise 7-28A together because oftentimes, particularly in the quiz questions and on the exam questions, the questions give you the break-even point, and it might not be immediately clear why it's giving you that particular piece of information. So let's just work through this example together, and then it will become quite clear. So in this problem, again, I've just put some of the basics up here. The company is considering purchasing a new piece of equipment, which would increase the quality of production, which management then hopes would increase sales. So the problem tells us that our contribution margin is currently 40%, and it tells us the break-even point is $350,000. So that's in sales dollars. So that means in order to break even, which would be to have exactly $0 of operating income, we need to have sales of $350,000. The problem is asking us, what would happen if our fixed costs increase by $35,000, again, because we've purchased the new equipment? So what would the new break-even point in sales revenue be then? So the point I wanted to make in particular with this problem is, first of all, just to review how the company would have calculated the break-even point in sales dollars. So that would be your fixed costs. Again, anytime you have a break-even point problem, the numerator is a fixed cost. And then, since it gives us the number in sales dollars, that means the denominator would be the contribution margin ratio. So again, anytime you have a break-even point problem, your numerator would be the fixed cost. And then if you want your answer in sales dollars, your denominator is contribution margin ratio. If instead it would have given us break-even point in sales units, that would have been calculated by unit contribution margin. Okay, anyway, so my point is, in this problem, it tells us the break-even point, in sales dollars is $350,000. So we have that piece of information from up there. So let's just use that information to figure out what our fixed costs were before we've even, purchased the equipment. So our fixed cost divided by, again, our contribution margin ratio. So my point with this is, anytime it tells you the break-even point, oftentimes the problems are written so you use that information to solve for your fixed cost. So in this case, if our break-even point in sales dollars were $350,000 and our contribution margin ratio was 0.4, that means our fixed cost must have been $140,000. So again, that's how we want to use that information. Now the problem is actually asking us, if our fixed expenses increase by $35,000, what will the new break-even point be? Well, obviously our formula, we still want to use this formula. Let's put that in yellow. Okay, so we still want to use the break-even point formula, but now if we purchase the new machine, instead of having fixed cost of $140,000, our fixed cost will be the $140,000 plus $35,000. Again, still divide by 0.4 and this is 437,500, which is the answer. The other thing I just wanted to mention is this is one way that you could have solved the problem. In some of the problems, or often, there are numerous ways that you can solve the problem. The other thing you could have done over here is you could have just looked at, if our fixed cost increase by $35,000 and our contribution margin ratio is 0.4, that means our break-even point would increase by $87,500. So we knew the break-even point before was $350,000. If it increased $87,500, you still get $437,500. 500. So again, you could have got that number a couple different ways. So just to review, my main point of wanting to work this problem is because often the problems give you this information, the break-even point and the contribution margin ratio, and actually you need that information to solve for the fixed cost. Okay, let me know if you have questions. Thanks.